Inside a vehicle, Rachel covers her ears and tries to hide while a gunfight ensues around her. She's a lawyer who specializes in recovering debts for powerful clients using legal loopholes and shell companies. This started a few days ago. In the Canaries, Rachel's mentor Braxton meets with billionaire Salazar, who owes a man named Goldstein $1 billion. Salazar signs the papers, agreeing to pay the full debt plus interest. Afterward, Salazar's head of security Olson drives Braxton and his bodyguard to his hotel. Since Braxton is having signal issues on his phone, they stop by a cliff so he can make a call. He tells Goldstein's executive Bobby that he's gotten the full deal, which she can't believe. Suddenly Olson kills Braxton's bodyguard. Braxton panics and tries to leave the car, but Olson has a remote to lock all the doors. After playing with him for a few minutes, Olson opens the door and Braxton runs away, only to get shot as well. Then Olson takes the papers back and calls Salazar to announce that the contract is void. Later in New York, Rachel bursts into Bobby's office without permission. Rachel is angry that Bobby didn't take enough precautions to protect Braxton and volunteers to take over Salazar's case. Bobby doesn't like Rachel and thinks her service is too expensive, but she's running out of options. In the end, Bobby agrees to pay Rachel 10% plus $10 million upfront. In the evening, Rachel studies the case. Salazar hides behind hundreds of pseudonyms, so he must be attacked both legally and illegally. Her employees are taking care of the legal issues, and she has 2 special operators for the illegal ones. Bronco is the leader of a team that specializes in extraction, intimidation, and sabotage, while Sid's band specializes in corruption, bribery, and covert surveillance. The next day Rachel and Bronco meet Salazar's lawyer Horowitz. They pretend to be normal clients at first, but as soon as they mention Salazar, Horowitz freaks out and calls his security guard. When the guard enters the room, Bronco threatens to kill him and spread his blood on the walls. A terrified Horowitz agrees to hear them out, and Rachel explains she's here for Salazar's debt with Goldstein, so she wants a list of all his proxy corporations and shell companies. Horowitz refuses to give them that information and kicks them out. Afterward, Bronco and Baker travel to Salazar's island to start sabotaging his interests and set up a base. In Saudi, Sid anonymously tips off the authorities about Salazar's hotel. It turns out they're building something bigger than what was approved, so the government shuts the construction down. Now Horowitz is busy with this scandal, since the project is losing $4 million a week. He immediately suspects that Rachel is behind this. Later, Sid goes to the construction site and makes his car crash into the superintendent's vehicle on purpose. He acts as if it was an accident, and his partner Gucci pretends to be a doctor who checks if he's hurt. They tell him he needs to take 6 weeks off for recovery while throwing bribe money into his car. The superintendent counts it and gives them the thumbs up, agreeing to use the crash story to disappear for a few weeks. Soon Horowitz receives a call telling him that the steel has been impounded because the paperwork doesn't match. Now penalties and delays will cost Salazar $5 million a week. Meanwhile, Bronco and Baker pretend to be employees at Salazar's oil rig. Baker wants to destroy tomorrow's delivery, but Bronco prefers to do invisible damage that will take months to diagnose. They end up installing a little device in a valve that immediately causes enough problems to stop the rig from working. The safety inspectors are tipped off and the rig starts losing $500,000 a day. When Salazar meets with Horowitz to demand an explanation, Horowitz blames it all on Rachel. Salazar wants to kill her, but Horowitz explains that she's already insured herself. If she dies, 20 prepaid lawyers will keep her mission going. Since this mess is starting to cost $28 million a month, Horowitz thinks it's time to make a deal. Rachel still hasn't found the worst parts of Salazar's business, so he thinks they should be fine for now. However, during the visit, Bronco planted a bug in Horowitz's office, so Rachel has been learning many of his dirty secrets. Salazar has an accountant called Wolfgang, who manages the entire financial empire by hiding the money in shell companies. In Jeddah, Wolfgang is throwing a party, so Sid attends pretending to be a wealthy investor. He joins a game of backgammon and wins every time because he's using loaded dice, however he refuses to take the money. Wolfgang immediately becomes suspicious and challenges him, but Sid wins again. Instead of the money, he asks for a rematch for $10, and this time he loses on purpose. He claims he doesn't have cash and promises to send him a gift later. Eventually a box arrives at Wolfgang's office with a statue that matches his collection. The room has an impenetrable firewall and the computer can only be hacked if it's close enough, so Sid is sent that statue with a hidden device. Now Rachel's hacker Clover can easily gain access to everything. In just a few days, Rachel gets the court to approve seeking international attachment orders. Horowitz calls her and offers her $300 million, but Rachel turns it down and demands a meeting with Salazar before hanging up. Expecting that the meeting will be on Salazar's island, Rachel sends her team there to start preparations. Their mission is to make sure she can leave safely after the meeting. Bronco has acquired a local ambulance, a police car, a variety of vehicles for their escape. He's also bought a bunch of guns. The safe house has been hidden in the most remote part of Salazar's island. It's near all 3 extraction points and has historical tunnels. Salazar may call Rachel to his hotel or his villa, so the team discusses different escape routes that can be reached no matter where Rachel is. Since they can't use helicopters because Salazar controls the sky, they have gyrocopters that will go undetected. The first route is in the city, and the team's car immediately gets stuck in traffic. They decide to test the route on bikes instead, driving through the streets at dangerous speed. The police notice them and start chasing after them. The team keeps driving fast and pulls off some impressive moves to leave the city, so the chase continues on the countryside roads. The bikers decide to jump into the storm drain, but the police can't follow them there, so they effectively escape and reach the east evacuation point. Next, the team tests the gyrocopters, which take too long to prepare. Sid and Bronco order their men to keep practicing until they can get them ready in just 3 minutes. The last route is in the west, where a tunnel can take them out of the villa. Nobody can follow them here, but the ravine doesn't have a good path to travel and it'd take them too long to escape. To solve this, Bronco sets up a zip line that can take them across the cliff where more ATVs have been hidden. For the next few days, the team practices going through every route over and over again to perfect their times and be sure there aren't obstacles they haven't seen. They also practice using their weapons in different contexts, like riding a bike or on moving targets. In case of an emergency, they bury mines in various spots on the roads and build a trap they name Banana Pie. It's a concealed door on the ground that can swallow any vehicles that may follow them. At the hotel, Sid and Bronco act like tourists and Bronco pretends to have a heart attack. When the manager comes to check on him, he steals her skeleton key. Then Sid clarifies that Bronco only has low blood sugar and he simply needs candy. After Gucci cuts the cameras, Sid and Bronco use the key to access the penthouse and install a bunch of hidden bugs. Later, the team hides engine killers under all the police cars in the city. They need to know the local prison too in case someone gets caught, so Sid throws some alcohol on his clothes and face to pretend he's drunk. Then he yells and pees on the street until the cops arrest him. When Sid is finally released, he tells Bronco about all the cameras, the number of officers, and the available weapons. The technology here is so poor that he's already picked up the signal and opens the barrier gate with his phone. The team returns to the safe house to plan an escape route for the prison too, and Sid discovers that Olsen is watching them from afar, so they gesture insults at each other. Once the team has everything ready, Rachel returns to court and gets the judge to approve the seizure of Salazar's personal assets. The jet is impounded under international law and the boat is impounded under maritime law. Salazar calls Horowitz to yell at him and announces he's done with court. He now wants to meet Rachel in person. When Rachel finally arrives at the island, Sid picks her up in a car and gives her a watch. If she presses the button, it'll send a signal so the team can find her. Rachel thinks about Bronco and Sid and why they're loyal to her. 100 jobs ago, she broke them out of a prison in Chiang Mai. Now Sid notices that they're being followed, but to avoid trouble he ignores it. Meanwhile, Salazar arrives at the hotel and discusses a plan of action. Gucci hears everything on the bugs, although the transmission starts to fail. Soon Rachel also comes to the hotel and keeps Bronco and Sid as her bodyguards during the meeting. Salazar offers $350 million, but she says no, so he raises it to $400 million. Rachel still isn't interested in anything but the full amount, so Salazar makes her leave. In the car, Rachel calls Clover and asks him to get her more leverage. She's feeling frustrated, so she asks the guys to stop at a cafe so she can have a beer. In just a few seconds, Gucci sees on the drone that many people and vehicles are now approaching the cafe. 2 men come in and sit at the back while the team recognizes them from the hotel. Soon 2 more guys approach the bar and another 2 sit outside. Bronco takes a dishcloth from the waiter and covers his lap so he can get his gun ready. Sid hides another gun under his jacket and enters the building through the back door. As more men arrive in a car, Bronco shares a look with the guys at the other table. The waiter notices and runs before Bronco quickly shoots both men. In the kitchen, Sid kills another guy and Baker takes care of the one at the bar. Gucci confirms that the back door is clear, so Bronco escorts Rachel out while the rest of the team shoots down the thugs from the car. In just a matter of minutes, all the enemies at the front are dead. Suddenly 2 more men appear on a scooter, but Gucci alerts Bronco, who kills them quickly too. The team splits into various vehicles and leaves without a single scratch. Moments later, Olsen informs Salazar that their plan failed. When Horowitz hears that Salazar tried to kill Rachel, he gets angry, saying he fell into her trap. Now she can ask for an emergency injunction, which means all of Salazar's dirty businesses will come under legal scrutiny. Salazar immediately calls Wolfgang, and seconds later Glover informs Rachel that Salazar's assets are being moved because he's panicking. Rachel asks Glover to connect the assets to the hidden businesses, attach them to Salazar's name, and shut them down. While Rachel waits in the safe house for Salazar to surrender, her legal team gets court approval to seek Salazar's international attachment orders. One by one, all of Salazar's biggest companies are frozen and seized, slowly draining away his income. Guessing that there's a leak, Salazar's men search Wolfgang's office and finally find the bug, but by now it's too late, all the major companies have been taken. Soon Rachel is called to another meeting at the hotel and Salazar offers $800 million. However, Rachel wants the full $1 billion and threatens to send information to all the investors he's burned in the past, who will ask for $5 billion instead of just $1 billion. Salazar has no choice but to agree and tells Horowitz to pay her. He also fires him on the spot. On her way out of the hotel, Rachel calls Bobby to give her the big news. 3 months later, Rachel is in a desert compound trying to contact Bobby because she still hasn't paid her, but Bobby won't answer. At that moment Rachel sees a car approaching, so she calls her guard. Since he doesn't show up and her assistant hasn't seen him, Rachel goes looking for him and finds him dead on the sand. Terrified, she runs back to the tent only to find her assistant dead too. The car stops and the driver is revealed to be Olsen. Rachel presses the button on her watch before she's taken away. In the evening, Bronco and Sid break into Bobby's office. They tell her that Salazar has Rachel, but Bobby says that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Spanish police are already handling it. The men call her out for doing nothing and point out that she has to pay her debts. Meanwhile, Salazar visits Rachel in prison. He hasn't gotten back his assets and is angry at Goldstein, so he's kidnapped something they value for blackmail. However, Rachel explains that she hasn't been paid either and Goldstein doesn't care about her, so she holds no value at all. Salazar tells her she must force Goldstein to fulfill their side of the deal or he'll kill her. Eventually the team arrives at the island and confirms that all their traps and vehicles are still in place, so they can use them to rescue Rachel. The team splits while Bronco and Sid drive the police car to the station. Dressed as officers, they have no problems entering the building and sneaking into the gun storage. They quickly surround a cop and handcuff him before stealing some guns. Then they move to the cell area and beat up or disarm the few cops there. After locking up those cops, they pass the keys to Rachel so she can leave her cell. While she stays hidden, Bronco and Sid move to the main office and quickly make all the officers surrender by just threatening them. They also disarm them. At that moment 5 more cops enter the station and Sid tells them not to move, but they reach for their guns anyway. Sid and Bronco immediately open fire. While the duo kills every officer in the office, more cars arrive to surround the station, so Baker blows up a hole in the back for Rachel, Sid, and Bronco to escape. The team reunites outside and leaves in a car, so the police follow them in several vehicles. A chase ensues through the countryside as the team takes the road they practiced dozens of times. Their car soon gets severely damaged when the cops open fire, so Sid activates the landmines to stop them. The cops' vehicles break down because of the explosions and can't continue, but they send out a drone to keep following Rachel's group. At the extraction point, the gyrocopter is ready by the time the team arrives. Unfortunately, so does the drone, which drops a bomb and blows up the building with all the gyrocopters and one of the men inside. In the car, Rachel covers her ear while the guys open fire at the incoming car, killing most of the men who come out. Sid shoots a gas tank, creating a huge explosion that kills the rest of the enemies and destroys their vehicle. Afterward, the team splits between the car and 2 bikes to take the second escape route. As soon as 3 more enemy vehicles come after them, the bikers move behind them and open fire, causing one of the trucks to crash. Bronco hides among the trees and opens the pit right in time for the second enemy car to fall into it. Then he comes out and shoots the men in the third truck with the help of the bikers, so they can continue their escape safely. At the safe house, the team rushes to get in position with their guns and sends out a drone. 2 vehicles get stuck on the spikes on the road and those men keep moving on foot, while 2 more cars come from the opposite road. Baker activates the mines but only manages to bring down 1 car, so the team opens fire to kill all the other men as they try to approach the house. A vicious gunfight ensues and soon the safe house is severely damaged. While his teammates fight, Baker sets up a bunch of explosives and opens the hatch to the tunnel. As soon as there's an opening, the team starts moving and one by one they leave through the tunnel. Gucci goes out first and effectively gets the zip line ready to escape. Someone needs to stay behind and activate the explosives though, so Baker has a short argument with Bronco and convinces him to leave without him. After Bronco and Sid take Rachel down the tunnel, they leave on the bikes. In the safe house, Baker activates a gas grenade and sneaks around as he keeps shooting any man who enters the building. On his earpiece, Bronco keeps telling him to come to the tunnel too, but Baker ignores him. Once all the enemies are close enough, Baker activates the explosives and blows up the whole house. A few men still manage to escape and find the trio going down the zip line. Sid and Bronco never stop shooting, so they keep the enemies distracted long enough to cross the cliff without getting hurt. The trio then gets on an ATV and rushes to the dock, where the rest of the team is getting the boat ready. Suddenly Olsen shows up in a helicopter and opens fire at the ATV. Bronco shoots back at him while Sid tries to drive as fast as possible, but neither of them manages to land a shot. Then Olsen changes to a more powerful weapon and shoots at the ground, creating several small explosions on the road that force the ATV to hide inside a building. However, Bronco and Sid also have a rocket launcher, so when they see the helicopter appear at the window, they immediately shoot it down. It lands on the shore and explodes, killing Olsen. Afterward, the team finally takes Rachel off the island by boat, although Sid and Bronco stay behind for one last mission. Moments later, the duo sneaks into Salazar's house pretending to be paramedics and knocks out a guard. When Salazar finds them, Bronco injects him with a sedative. Then they put the body on a stretcher to pass him off as a patient and take him away in an ambulance. To escape the city, Salazar is wrapped in plastic and put on an ATV that the team drives through the storm drain. A ship is waiting for them near the shore. Sometime later, the authorities in Miami find a shipping container with Salazar inside. At the same time, Rachel visits Bobby, who only knows that Salazar has disappeared. Rachel confirms she's been paid and theorizes that Bobby has double-crossed her by withholding Salazar's assets. Now that the police have Salazar, he'll probably tell them that Goldstein funded his criminal empire, and Goldstein will blame Bobby for it. After Rachel leaves the office, Goldstein gets a terrifying phone call. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.